Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Shiva Radha Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Shiva Radha Yasodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Vanachari Yamuna Tera Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Shiva Radha Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Shiva Radha Yasodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Vanachari Yamuna Tera Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Hare Krishna. So today we will read from the Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 10, The Opulence of the Absolute, Text 9. Before we read from the Bhagavad Gita, we glorify the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita with the following words. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I will recite the Sanskrit. Those who know the verse by heart can repeat it. Matchita Matgata Prana Bodhayanta Parashpam Katayanta samam nityam Tushyanti sharamanti cha. 9. So, word for word translation. Please repeat. Machita, their minds fully engaged in me. Matkata prana, their lives devoted to me. Bodhayanta, preaching. Parasparam, among themselves. Katayanta, talking. Cha, also. Mam, about me. Nityam, perpetually. Tushyanti, become pleased. Cha, also. Ramanti, enjoy transcendental bliss. Cha, also. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charnavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So please repeat. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service. And they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. The commentary. Pure devotees whose characteristics are mentioned here engage themselves fully in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Their minds cannot be diverted from the lotus feet of Krishna. Their talks are solely on the transcendental subjects. The symptoms of the pure devotees are described in this verse specifically. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the qualities and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Their hearts and souls are constantly submerged in Krishna, and they take pleasure in discussing him with other devotees. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself, and in the mature stage, they are actually situated in love of Godhead. Once situated in that transcendental position, they can relish the highest perfection which is exhibited by the Lord in his abode. Lord Chaitanya likens transcendental devotional service to the sowing of a seed in the heart of the living entity. There are innumerable living entities traveling throughout the different planets of the universe, and out of them are a few who are fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee and get a chance to understand devotional service. This devotional service is just like a seed, and if it is sown in the heart of a living entity, if it goes on hearing and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, that seed fructifies, just as the seed of a tree fructifies with regular watering. The spiritual plant of devotional service gradually grows and grows until it penetrates the covering of the material universe and enters into the Brahma Jyoti effulgence in the spiritual sky. In the spiritual sky also that plant grows more and more until it reaches the highest planet, which is called Goloka Vrindavan, the supreme planet of Krishna. Ultimately, the plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and rests there. Gradually, as a plant grows fruits and flowers, that plant of devotional service also produces fruits, and the watering process in the form of chanting and hearing goes on. This plant of devotional service is fully described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 19. It is explained there that when the complete plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, one becomes fully absorbed in love of Godhead. Then he cannot live even for a moment without being in contact with the Supreme Lord, just as a fish cannot live without water. In such a state, the devotee actually attains the transcendental qualities in contact with the Supreme Lord. The Srimad Bhagavatam is also full of such narrations about the relationship between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is very dear to the devotees, as stated in the Bhagavatam itself. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yat Vaishnavan Priyam. In this narration, there is nothing about material activities, economic development, sense gratification, of liberation. Srimad Bhagavatam is the only narration in which the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord and his devotees is fully described. Thus, the realized souls in Krishna consciousness take continual pleasure in hearing such transcendental literatures, just as a young boy and girl take pleasure in association. The verse again, Machita Machata Prana Bodhyanta Prashpam Katyant Samam Nityam Tushanti Sharamanticha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always one another and conversing about me. Om Jnana Timrandasya Chananjana Shalakya Shakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Chitchaitanya Manobistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svam Rupkadamyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shigo Shiyuda Padakamalam Shigum Vaishnavam Sha Shirupam Jagajatam Sakanaragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjana Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sakanalita Shifishakam Vitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sinu Dina Bandho Jatpate Kopesha Kopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchna Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshvri Vrishabhana Sutadevi Pranamama Haripri Vancha Kalptrubhasha Kripasan Vaivsha Patnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Nama Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Ghadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravanya Pacharane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Desatarane Srila Prabhupada Ki. So in this part of the Bhagavad Gita, there Lord Krishna presents 4 seed verses, which is a summary of the process of spiritual elevation as described in Bhagavad Gita. In the previous verse, Krishna has revealed that he is the source of everything. He is the source of all material and spiritual worlds. So there are material worlds, that's where we are now, and there are spiritual worlds. In the material world, everything is temporary. And in the spiritual world, everything is eternal and full of bliss. And the verse said, the sages who know that, they serve Krishna with love. So, if we know Krishna, then what is the result? Krishna has explained that before in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma samedivyam yomi veti tattvata tyaktvam punarchama naitemameti saryana. Krishna has said before to Arjuna, if you know me and you know all my activities, my transcendental activities, then you will not take birth again in this world. Then you go to this spiritual world. So that is, and in this verse now, describes what they do in the spiritual world and what pure devotees do. They always discuss about Krishna. And they derive great satisfaction from that. So if devotees come together, they discuss about Krishna. Because by hearing about Krishna, we get to know Krishna. And what happens when we know Krishna? Then we get to know who we are. In Bhagavad Gita it's explained who we are. 15.7, Bhagavad Gita says, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, Mamaivam Shochi Veluki Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. We are a spark of Krishna, a spiritual spark, and we are part of Krishna. So, and when we know Krishna, then only we can know ourselves and develop a relationship with Krishna. And these pure devotees, they live always in their relationship with Krishna. We have all a relationship with Krishna, but we have now forgotten that. We have putting ourselves in the center instead of Krishna. So what's the activity described here is sadhu sangha, association with devotees, and they always speak about Krishna. And the pure devotees, Lord Krishna, the pure devotees of Lord Krishna, Srila Prabhupada writes, they cannot even deviate their minds for a moment from Krishna. So this activity is the activity of the natural activity of the spirit soul. We belong to the spiritual world. We have heard here in the purport that Srila Prabhupada writes that, yes, then such a pure devotee cannot live even for a moment without being in contact with the Lord, just as a fish cannot live without water. So that is what it means living in a relationship with Krishna. It's like a fish that cannot live outside the water. You may have a fish outside the water and you offer him everything, a nice room and food and so on, but the fish will not be happy. It wants to be again into the water. So we cannot be happy without a relationship with Krishna. So this pure devotees that Srila Prabhupada explains In the preliminary stage of devotional service, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service in itself. And in the mature stage, they are actually situated in love of Godhead. So, in the beginning, that we will not get this great transcendental bliss immediately, but we will get satisfaction from the service. So this is a description, this verse, of pure devotees. And someone asked Srila Prabhupada, how many pure devotees are there in ISKCON, in our movement? And Srila Prabhupada asked his secretary, how many devotees are there in ISKCON? So there were about 1,000 devotees at that time, I think. And so Srila Prabhupada considered all the devotees in our movement as pure devotees. So what does that mean? What is the meaning of pure devotee that we hear here? A pure devotee always derives satisfaction and bliss from always speaking about Krishna. So that process is called Sankirtan. Always putting Krishna in the center in all your activities. And the verse describes they are always engaged in service of Krishna, always speaking about Krishna, preaching to each other about Krishna. Bodhayanta, Srila Prabhupada said, preaching. So that is our business. That's why this temple is here, why we are here, is to hear and to speak about Krishna. And that is also the activity they do in the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada in the purport speaks about Goloka Vrindavan. So 5,000 years ago, Lord Krishna has brought the spiritual world to this earth in Vrindavan. And there, the most advanced devotees were the gopis. And we know from the Bhagavatam that they are always thinking of Krishna. Their mind could not be deviated even for a moment from Krishna. And they derive great bliss just from talking about Krishna. So we know that Krishna, at a certain moment, left for Mathura. Akrura went to Vrindavan to get Krishna and bring him to Mathura. He was acting on behalf of Kamsa, who invited Krishna for a wrestling match. And of course, Kamsa wanted to kill Krishna. But then, yes, Krishna left with Akrura. The gopis tried to stop him, but finally he had to leave. So then the gopis left, and the Krishna left, and the gopis came together and they said, yes, Krishna left us. Another gopi said, yes, he's now in Vrindavan. He gets the attention of the city girls of Vrindavan. He has left. He has forgotten us. Another gopi said, yes, he has forgotten us, he's gone. So why are we still speaking about him? So another gopi said, yes, let us stop speaking about him. And another gopi said, yes, let's stop speaking about him, how beautiful he is. And another gopi said, yes, let's stop speaking about him, how he spoke all these sweet words. Another gopi said, yes, let's stop speaking about him, how he garlanded us. And another gopi said, yes, let's stop speaking about him, how he so nicely danced with us. So they could not stop speaking about him. It went on and on. Their minds could not be deviated, even for a moment. So this Vrindavan is a replica of Goloka Vrindavan. And in the spiritual world, in Goloka Vrindavan, everyone is always engaged in thinking of Krishna and is absorbed in Krishna's pastimes and are experiencing Krishna's pastimes. So they live in a direct relationship with Krishna. So let's try to experience this bliss which all these great devotees in the spiritual world experience. So we know Srimati Radharani is the highest advanced devotee, and she's so-called married with a husband. And this husband, what's his name again? The husband of so-called husband, Abhimanyu, yes, Abhimanyu. So, and who knows who Abhimanyu's mother, what is her name? Jatila. And she has a sister. You know the name of the sister? No? Of Jatila? Kotila. So these are special characteristics in Goloka Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, all the residents of Vrindavan, they want to bring Radha and Krishna together. But Jatila and Kotila, they want to put obstacles so that they cannot meet. And that increases the bliss of the residents of Vrindavan when these obstacles are there. So once Abhimanyu was coming out of his house, and before the house was Jatila. Jatila, his mother. And he said to his mother, "Oh, I'm going to another village a little further. I have some business there, and I will come back tomorrow." Of course, Krishna is all-knowing. He knew that Abhimanyu was going. So Krishna took the form of Abhimanyu and went to the house of where Srimati Radharani was, the house of Abhimanyu. And when he arrives, when he comes, then in the form of Abhimanyu, then Jatila sees him coming. And then Jatila is asking, I thought you went away and you were going to come back tomorrow. And Krishna said, oh, I changed my mind. I love you so much, so I was thinking I can that another time. I can do that another time so that I can be with you. So Jatila was charmed, and Krishna went into the house and with Radharani. But then in the meantime, the real Abhimanyu came back earlier than thought. And when he comes back, Jatila sees him coming. And she thinks, oh, what is this? My son is inside. This must be an impostor. And then she took a broomstick and was chasing after Abhimanyu. And because she thought it's Krishna who is dressed as my son. And she was beating him. And Abhimanyu was crying, no, I'm your son, I'm your son. But yes, at another time in Vrindavan, that Krishna was with Radharani together in a room. And then Kotila was going to the room of Srimati Radharani, and she heard a voice inside, the voice of Krishna. And Kotila put her ear on the door. She was hearing Krishna, and suddenly she opened the door, and Krishna jumped to the window. But he left his flute behind. So Kotila took the flute and took Radharani by the hand and went outside the house. And she was calling all the other gopis, I have some news here. Now I have the proof. This is the evidence. She was with Krishna, and here is his flute. So all these gopis came around, so many. But there was one elderly gopi. Her name was Purnamasi. Purnamasi is in charge of Yoga Maya, the spiritual illusory energy. And she's elderly, and she started to laugh. And then Kotila said, why are you laughing? This is very serious. And Purnamasi said, don't you know? Yesterday, it rained flutes all over Vrindavan. And she took Kotila by the hand, went in the house, and she went to her room, and they found 3 flutes in her room. And then they went to the room of Jatila and found 2 flutes. Of course, Srimati Radharani felt very bad with the whole situation. She felt so embarrassed. And Krishna knew this. So Krishna arranged for another pastime. So once Krishna was at home with his father, Nanda Maharaj, and with Mother Yasoda, they were together. And suddenly Krishna fainted. He fainted, and Mother Yasoda said to Nanda Maharaj, please do something. Get a doctor. Of course, like 5,000 years ago, there were only Ayurvedic doctors. And at that time, these doctors, one could recognize that someone was a doctor because he was dressed like a doctor with certain paraphernalia. But anyway, Nanda Maharaj went out, a small village, and he was thinking, where am I going to get a doctor? And of course, Krishna took the form of a doctor. When Nanda Maharaj went outside, then he suddenly saw a doctor coming. So Nanda Maharaj said, he ran to the doctor and he said, you are sent by Lord Narayan. Please come. My son fainted. So the doctor comes inside the house and Krishna is lying there. And the first thing is, he's feeling Krishna's pulse. That's what these Ayurvedic doctors do. I had personal experience with that in 98. I was in Vrindavan, and I was there with Janmashtami. On Janmashtami we fast, and on midnight we have a feast, right? And I enjoyed the feast, but right after the feast I became very ill. I got fever and so on. And I had to go to the doctor. In Vrindavan, to go to the doctor, at least in that time, you have to take a rickshaw. So I took a rickshaw to the doctor. And it was one of the doctors in Vrindavan who had treated Srila Prabhupada in his last days. And he was very happy to see me. I was a brahmachari. And he was feeling my pulse. He was feeling my pulse and he looked at me and said, your age is 38. And that was correct, 38, just on top 38. And then, while feeling my pulse, he was describing all the symptoms I was feeling, what I was feeling. That's, yes. When you go to a doctor in the West, it's the other way. They are asking what you are feeling. But he was telling what I was feeling. And he said, nothing serious. You fast a day and then you take a simple prasad, some rice with dal, will be okay. And that was it. But yes, the doctor was feeling Krishna's pulse, and while he was feeling Krishna's pulse, he was telling Mother Yasoda, it's very serious. This is very serious. And then afterwards, like Ayurvedic doctors, they are using also astrology. So he was calculating for some time, and he said again to Mother Yasoda, it's very serious. And then he said, but yes, there is one cure. You should make a bucket with 108 holes in. 108 holes. And a chaste girl should take that bucket, go to the Yamuna, to the river, Yamuna, and put the bucket in the water and then lift it up and on the strength of the chastity of the water should remain in the bucket. So Mother Yasoda said, okay, I will do it, Mother Yasoda said. And the doctor immediately said, no, it cannot be the mother. That's not possible. So good. Mother Yasoda went out. And yes, she, with all the girls of Vrindavan, the gopis, they went to the river and one by one tried, put the water in, put the pot in the water, lift it up, and all the water came out. So nobody could do it. Then Mother Yasoda went back to the doctor and said, yes, we could not do it. And the doctor said, are there no chaste women in Vrindavan? And he started to calculate again, and he said, it's very serious. And he was calculating. And then he said, yes, maybe there are 2 chaste ladies in Vrindavan, and their names are Chatila and Kotila. So good, Mother Yasoda went to Chatila and Kotila and explained the situation. And they said, the doctor said, you are chaste women. And immediately they became very proud. They said, now we are recognized. Now we are recognized as the most chaste. Yes, it's true. And they went with Mother Yasoda to the Yamuna. And Chatila put the bucket in the water and lifted it up, and all the water came out. And Kotila the same thing. So Mother Yasoda said, I was thinking you were the most chaste woman in Vrindavan. So Mother Yasoda went back to the doctor. And the doctor said, it's very serious. And was calculating again. And then he said, this is the last chance. Is there a gopi called Radhika here? And Mother Yasoda said, yes. And the doctor said, she can do it. So Mother Yasoda went to Srimati Radharani. But then Srimati Radharani said, I've been already so much embarrassed, so much, and now again, no, I'm not going to do it, Srimati Radharani said. And Mother Yasoda said, yes, you must do it. It is a question of life and death. Finally, she agreed to do it. And she went with Mother Yasoda. So they put a bucket in the Yamuna, lifted it, thinking everything will come out, but all the water remained inside. And then they took the water inside, and the doctor took the water and sprinkled it on Krishna, and Krishna opened its eyes. He was cured. So these are some of the blissful pastimes that going on in Vrindavan. And that now, to come to that experience, we come back to the point that Srila Prabhupada said, all the devotees in ISKCON are pure devotees. But there are 2 kinds of pure devotees. And there are different levels of pure devotees. That first is, acting in pure devotion means acting as a spirit soul. That is a spiritual activity, serving. Everyone serves in this world. That's what everyone does. But we may serve ourselves, we may serve our boss. The husband serves the wife the husband. We are serving the children. We are serving the dog, let him out. And that everyone is busy serving. But if that service is directed towards ourselves, then we don't feel satisfaction. That whatever happiness comes from giving pleasure to this body is very... that the happiness we are experiencing in this world is very short. That like we eat a pizza, how long do you enjoy a pizza? How long does it take to eat a pizza? 20 minutes. 20 minutes. And when the pizza is gone, what's happening? That, yes, then we have to wait until we become hungry again. So it's uninterrupted. People go to work Monday. Monday they think of 5 days more working. They feel unhappy. And then Tuesday they think, oh, okay, tomorrow we are midway. And then Wednesday, some spark of hope comes. And then Thursday comes and that it's okay, tomorrow. And on Friday they start to smile. And then the weekend comes. And then enjoyment in the weekend. But it's so quick, and before they know it's Monday again. So that's in this world. We have renunciation and enjoyment. But Bhakti Ras is constant enjoyment. We hear these pastimes in the spiritual world. Everyone is feeling constant ecstasy of love. So for this, we just direct our attention to Krishna. And how do that in a way that we are acting as a pure devotee described here? That's mentioned in the scriptures that Iyayasya Redasya Karmana Manasagiri Nikalesh Apevashtusu Shivan Mukta Uchate. One who always uses his body, his mind and words in the service of Krishna, he's acting as a spirit soul and is liberated. Everything we have, body, mind and words, we use in the service of Krishna. So, and that is the position of the residents of Vrindavan. They only want to please Krishna. And they always talk about him. To remain absorbed in him. So living in a relationship with Krishna means thinking of Krishna. It starts with always thinking of Krishna. It's like a new married couple. The man always thinks of the wife thinks of the man. So that is natural in a relationship. So this is what these pure devotees do. And the verse explains that this relationship will develop if we start spiritual practice, the practice of hearing about Krishna, remembering Him, and glorifying Him. So that practice of devotional service, that is in the beginning like a seed. So, and by hearing about Krishna and chanting about Krishna, gradually this love will develop. This love will develop by the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And gradually we will become attracted to Krishna, and our heart will become pure, free from lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, envy, and so on. And we will start to feel this naturally, this love for Krishna. So thank you very much. Are there questions or comments, please?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the lecture. I was thinking lately, something I've been thinking about is how when I'm chanting japa, or I'll be like taking darshan, I'm like, oh, where are you? Or how can I purify myself? What can I do, right, to attain the perfection? But then after a while, I just sit there and realize, wow, actually I'm doing the very action that I'm always looking for. But it's just so simple, and it's so inconceivable how easy and practical it is that something about my mind can't believe that just chanting Hare Krishna is and taking part in this program that Prabhupada gave us is the path of perfection.
Yes, it's very simple, and it's too simple for our intelligence. We think there must be something better, but the chanting in principle means, that's what my spiritual master always said, Bhakti Maharaj. Chanting Hare Krishna means saying to Krishna, I love you, and trying to give our love to Krishna. Of course, it starts with giving attention to Krishna. First giving attention, and then your love. And that's what mentioned in this verse. By conversing and speaking about Krishna, we put our attention to Krishna, and gradually this love will develop. Is that okay? Something else? Yes, please.
Thank you. What was the meaning of the bucket with 108 holes in it? Like, is there a message behind that or not really?
The message was that only chaste women would be able to do that. Chastity means that, no illicit sexual connections.
So, but like that miracles would happen, like even beyond belief, having a bucket with holes in it, you can still contain water in it if you do what Krishna asks of?
These are pastimes from the spiritual world, and there everything is under Krishna's yoga maya, or spiritual energy. So it's Krishna already arranged what was going to happen. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Okay. Something else? Thank you very much. Yantra Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Bhakti Prabhava Maharaj ki jai.